We have the pleasure to welcome Pyrum Innovation and CEO Pascal Klein for a presentation and Q&A. The company listed on Euronext Growth in September and just released their numbers for the first half of 2021. I'll leave the rest of the presentation to you, Pascal. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction. My name is Pascal Klein, CEO and founder of Pyrum Innovations AG. I would like to start by presenting the company a little bit for those who haven't heard about us. So to start with, I would like to speak a little bit about the ELT, so the end-of-life tire market, and why we approached that market at first. It is a completely underestimated market, meaning that there are tons and tons of tires, more exactly 30.9 million tons of used tires per year worldwide. And as most people don't know, most of these tires are really mistreated. And when I say mistreated, I really mean mistreated. They end up in our oceans, in our forests. They go into cement plants to simply be burned. And that results in things like the fire you see on the left picture here. That is the biggest tire dump on the world in Kuwait. There are over 40 million tires lying there in the middle of nowhere. And this tire dump is burning since beginning of August, and many millions of tires have already burned, and it's extremely hard to cut such a fire again. So we are really addressing a lot of CO2 and environmental questions in Europe or Northern America, but in some parts of the world, as you can see in the pictures, waste is simply burned. So it was a core point of Pyrum to solve the waste issue we have here in Europe. And we started by tires because, as already said, it is a completely underestimated market. That doesn't mean that we are unable to recycle other waste streams, but as said, we first perfectionized the recycling of used tires. So the European Union has mainly understood the problem already since years. Since the year 2000, landfill has been banned. The reason for that is easy. If you put tires in landfill, sun and rain are washing out the oil that is inside the tires over the years, and that oil goes into the ground and into our drinking water. So, but that is ended already in Europe since the year 2000, as said. The incineration is a topic that is mainly done in Europe. Over 50% in Europe is burned, but more and more European countries are banning the incineration or the burning of tires. And there's been recent events even in Sweden where a whole cement plant has been shut down due to too high emissions. And another big use of used tires is shredding them and using the granulates as flowing on football grounds or soccer fields, children playgrounds. And that is also use of used tires that will be forbidden in the next years. In the year 2023, that should be forbidden for several reasons, as for example, microplastics that are created while playing on these playgrounds, and the oil and that is in this rubber granulate also goes into our ground and into our drinking water when it is lying on children playgrounds outdoor. So as said, there are many new EU waste directives that are all working in our favor, so into the direction of a greener world, and that's why we work on used tires mainly to start with. So what we do is quite easy. In fact, we get tires. We are not collecting them. We are getting them delivered, meaning we open our door every morning and truckload after truckload is entering our site in Dillingen, southwest of Germany. And important fact here, we are not paying for the tires. We are getting paid. So we get money for each tire we take in. In big quantities, we are paid, of course, per ton. In smaller quantities, if private persons or little garages are bringing some 10 or 20 tires, they pay per piece. First step we do is shredding the tires. In this step, we extract steel and textile fibers from the tires. That is state-of-the-art technology that has been done since decades. Steel is sold to the steel production and is used to make new steel fibers for new tires. And the fibers are used for insulations or reinforcements for concrete, for example. and the rubber, which is at the end 70% of the weight of the tire that came in. So these 70% of rubber go in our patented thermolysis recycling process. That's the nice tower you see here in the middle. We call it tower. That's an important word to remember for the presentation, because I will often use the word tower. So that is one tower. One tower is able to recycle 5,000 tons of rubber per year. That's about 6,500 to 7,000 tons of whole tires. And from these, from the rubber represents now 100% of the input of the tower. We generate 25 to 40% of oil, 40 to 45% of carbon, and 10 to 25% of gas. You can see that oil and gas are quite much linked together. That comes from the fact that that is a setting that the operator is doing. So the more oil we want, the less gas we have, and the more gas we want, the less oil we have. So these two end products depend one on each other. In our daily production, we are at about 30 to 35% of oil in the area of 20% of gas. The carbon is quite stable. The small difference here from 40 to 45% comes mainly from the difference between car and truck tires. Car have 45% of carbon. Truck tires have 45% of carbon. Car tires more in the area of 40%. So our oil goes then as raw material in the chemical industry, like BASF, for example, or in the production of new virgin carbon black at Orion in cooperation with Michelin. The carbon is milled, pelletized, and then used as recovered carbon black in the production of new rubber, plastic master batches, and coating industry. And here we are partner with several big tire manufacturers like Continental or Michelin, for example. And the gas, that's quite unique in our process. The gas is completely cleaned, a little bit modified, and used then in power generators that are strong enough to power our whole pyrolysis process, meaning that we are completely energy self-sufficient. We use the full electricity and the heat that are generated from the gas stream. So what makes us unique? Because I'm often asked that same question, because there are other players in the market that pretend to be able to do what we do. And in fact, there are others that can recycle plastic and rubber waste, and some of them also do oil of it. But what is one of the biggest differences is the extreme low operating costs of our system. The tower, as you have seen on the picture before, is extremely energy saving. So meaning we almost need no energy to operate it. We need no external gas. We need almost no nitrogen to operate it. So as you can see on the top left, if you compare Pyrum to a competitor, which we were able to analyze recently, our operating costs are 4 times lower. And that comes mainly from the fact that we are using a complete new technology. Our vertical Pyrum reactor is something that we have patented. That's why we have these high towers, and that has never been done like this before. Most other technologies on the market are quite old technologies that have been developed already in the 70s and in the 80s. At these times, oil and energy was too cheap, so it made no sense to use these technologies. But today, they are having a quite renaissance. But it is in fact nothing new. And here I speak about batch ovens or turning ovens. And as our technology is that innovative, we won several prizes. KfW, German, the Bank of Germany, as most innovative German company. Just this year here, we won the Best Tire Recycling Innovation Award from the Recircle Award in the UK. We were nominated by the German government as one of the best mid-cap companies in Germany. And we won the famous Concours Le Pin, which is the biggest inventor prize that you can get in France. So that proves from third parties that what we have invented is really new and has nothing to do with what exists already in the market. I have here some bullet points that give the advantages of the process, but I just want to focus on some of them. The process is reliable. The plant is in test operation since 2015, the industrial scale one. and since May 2020, so almost 1.5 years, we are in full 24/7 operation, and we deliver industrial quality and quantities to the market. We are the only ones that are fully energy self-sufficient. That comes from our gas stream development. The lifespan of our reactor or the tower is quite long because the system is running 24/7, so you have no hot-cold phases, only 4 of them per year for the 4 maintenance stops, and that gives the reactor extreme long lifespan. It's like a light bulb. The longer a light bulb is on and not turned on and off every time, the longer is the lifespan of a light bulb. So it's the same thing for hot reactors, in fact. The longer it is hot in a row, the longer is the lifespan. So we only stop the system every 3 months, and every 3 months, just for 2 weeks, that is a security maintenance that has to be done. As we stop quite not often, so we have a very stable process, so we get very stable oil and carbon out of the system, which helps us to get very high and stable oil and carbon prices with long-term offtake agreements like with BASF for 10 years for each plant. And we have almost no emissions as the unit is fully electrically heated, so we don't need to burn any gas or oil from external sources to heat the process. We really only use the gas that comes out at the end of our process. So as you cannot be here visiting the plant, I have here a sky picture of it. So that is the industrial plant that is in operation here since now 2015 and in 24/7 operation since May 2020. Case number 1 is feedstock and shredding. There's where the shredders are cut it down and steel and textile is taking out. And then the rubber goes in case 2, that's the reactor. In case 3, cooling unit, that's where the oil and the carbon is cooled down again to ambient temperature as well as the gas. Case 4 is where the oil is stored and the nitrogen. The nitrogen is there to inertize the process at the beginning. Case 5, carbon mill and pelletizer. That's the post-treatment for the carbon. That's where the carbon is milled and pelletized, and only once that is done, it is called recovered carbon black. The carbon mill is up and running since beginning of the year. The pelletizer is the last missing part of the whole production chain, and that one will be in operation Q1 2022, so beginning next year. Case 6 and 7, that's where the gas is stored and the gas is transformed into electricity. So there's our power generators, 2 times 1,300 horsepower, and that creates enough electricity to fully operate case 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And part of case 1. We are not able to cover the whole energy need of the shredding, but most of it. And 8 is the control room. And exactly what you see here in the picture will be built now just on the building side on the left. Again, but with double of the capacity that is already there. So at the end, we will have 3 times the capacity of what we have now. We are often asked how much we're actually producing already today. It is, I would say, already a lot. For a first unit in industrial operation, we recycle today 15 tons per day. That's about 1,500 to 2,000 tires per day on 7 days per week basis. And that gives us 4 tons of oil, 5 tons of carbon, 2.5 tons of gas, 3 tons of steel wire, and 0.5 tons of textile fibers every day, and that 24/7, 7 days a week, as said. So about this history, I try to keep that short and quick. 2008 to 2015 was the phase where we made the first small pilot plant in building the industrial plant. Between 2015 and 2020, that was the hardest period of our company history, meaning we had to come from an industrial plant that was turned on for the first time to an actual plant that was able to be operated 24/7. That costed us 15 test runs of 1 to 6 weeks each, and a lot of modification in between each test run. I have to say we had modification in between 2 test runs that took 2 to 6 months. And if you add that between 15 test runs, you quickly take 5 years to solve all the little issues that you can have with a brand new technology. And that's exactly the phase where most of our competitors are stuck in, or the phase most competitors didn't survive, is to come from a prototype in industrial scale to an actually running industrial scale plant. So as from 2020, we were able to fully operate. We got the oil purchase agreement from BASF for 100 kilotons per year, meaning we can now build 50 towers in whole Europe, and all the oil is already sold to BASF. Black Cycle is one of the most renowned European research projects for the tire of the future, with Michelin, Orion, and Pyrum, and some other partners, in which we develop the tire of the future, which is made mainly out of old tires. After 6 months of good deliveries on weekly basis to BASF, we got an investment from BASF of 16 million in September 2020. Beginning 21, we signed a recycling contract with the Michelin plant here in Southwest Germany to recycle their production waste. Recent events, offtake agreement with Continental and Pirelli for the recovered carbon black, ahead of terms with a big UK recycler to build several plants in the UK. And the most recent news is a strategic partnership that we have signed in September with Schwalbe, market leader for bicycle tires in whole Europe. So the key news since June is easy. Continental became cornerstone investor in our capital raise in September, where we entered the Oslo Stock Exchange. We got the building permit for plant number 2 and 3 here in Southwest Germany. In August, we made this strategic partnership with Schwalbe, in which the goal is to collect in over 8,000 bike stores in Germany all the bicycle tires in Germany and to recycle them here at our site at Pyrum. And Schwalbe then reuses our carbon black and oil as much as they can to make green bicycle tires in the future. And we got recently the ISCC Plus, the International Sustainable Carbon Certificate, which is now proving that our process is really clean and ahead of its time in green matters. So the expansion plan is quite easy. We have one plant up and running. Plant 2 and 3 are in the building process now. They started the groundworks 2 weeks ago, and they're doing the concrete right now outside. We built a plant in South Germany with the company Korn, in Ireland with the company ELTR, and these 3 projects are already running. The next one, SPV number 3. SPV means a plant that Pyrum is operating in cooperation with a third party. Is planned to be built in the area of Hanover and Munich with BASF and a big tire manufacturer. Pyrum will build a second 100% Pyrum-owned plant in Luxembourg, a third Pyrum-owned plant in a side of Germany where the site has not been decided yet, and another SPV in partnership with a company from Antwerp will be built in the port of Antwerp. And these are all projects that are real concrete projects that we are already working on. There are existing contracts, offtake agreements for the oil are already signed. So as you can see, we are not dreaming of building new plants. We are really already doing it. And we have over 20 more projects in the pipeline, but I cannot speak about all of them. And finally, to end about the R&D, we are not only working on tires. I told you that the technology can be used for other things, but we started with tires. Our other R&D projects are carbon fiber reinforced plastics, where we solid and isolated waste stream that is causing big problems. Most of the wind turbines, the wings, aircrafts, and electric cars are made of these carbon fiber reinforced plastics. Plates, for example, from wind turbines need to be changed every 15 to 25 years. And for the moment, there's no recycling option. They all go on landfill. And in the Infinity project with big players like Krauss Maffei and Fraunhofer Institute, we are working now already in phase 2, which is a semi-industrial phase for units that can recycle CFRP. Hydrogen is in our gas. So we are extracting in the future the hydrogen that is in our gas stream. So the hydrogen will not go anymore into our power generators. It will be separated before the power generators and be sold separately. That is quite a lot. One Pyrum plant with 3 towers can generate 210 tons of hydrogen per year, which is enough to fuel 25 buses or trucks every day. A Tire of the Future project, that's the Black Cycle project I mentioned before with Michelin and Orion. Here the goal is to make the first tire that is made out of old tires. That is a European Union Horizon 2020 project funded by the European Union with more than 10 million euros. The newest R&D project is with Schwalbe to create the green bike tire of the future. In that project is involved Schwalbe and University of Cologne. And another project, which is priority 2 only, is polyurethane recycling. Also a very solid and homogeneous waste stream. You find polyurethane mainly in mattresses and facade isolations, and that seems to be a quite promising waste stream in the future. So finally, as said, we got our ISCC Plus certificate, showing that Pyrum is really in the core of sustainability goals of the European Union, EU taxonomy, and of the sustainable goals of the United Nations. And we are able to reduce the CO2 emissions compared to the burning and cement plants by up to 98%, which is quite enormous, I would say. So we are really today in the core of what the world needs. To summarize, if there's something you should remember from this presentation, it would be these 5 bullet points. So we are really addressing a global problem, which is rubber waste and tire waste and other waste streams, polymers, and we are creating real high-value products out of that, and that is proven by point 2, a running plant that is really up and running in industrial scale since May 2020. And we have just, for example, already delivered more than 700 tons of oil to BASF in the last months. 3, we have industrial partners for everything. BASF and Continental are, for example, equity investors in Pyrum. We have long-term offtake agreements with them. We have R&D project with them. So we are really working with the big players in the market. We have a 2-pillar business model. So we are, on the one hand, we are selling plants and operating them with partners. And on the other hand, we are building plants that we operate our own and that we own our own. So on the one hand, we are a plant seller, and on the other hand, we are a recycling company. So that is dividing the risk for the company. And the last bullet point, with the recent capital increase we have done in September and the entry on the Oslo Stock Exchange, we have now the money to reach our goals, which is to build up to 23 plants in the next years. So thank you for your attention, and that's it for the company presentation.
Thank you for your presentation, Pascal. Running an industrial facility often requires a lot of energy, and in these tight energy days, how is the energy needs and requirements of your facility?
We are not really touched by the situation, as we are creating enough energy with our process to power our whole process ourselves. So that is not really something that touches us at all.
Yeah. Well, you're expanding your Diligent plant. When will we see the completion of your expansion?
So we started last Monday with the first diggers that arrived on the building site. That week we are already putting the concrete in the ground. So according to plan, we will start the ramp up September, October next year. And
Yeah.
for the moment, we are fully in plan.
All right. You do, of course, have some patents on your processes. How is your patent situation nowadays?
We have 2 patents. One is worldwide and one is Europe-wide. The Europe-wide one, we just didn't make it worldwide because it's a question of costs. An international patent is extremely expensive. But the core part of the process, that's to say the reactor, that's what's newly invented, that is worldwide patented, and the process itself has a European patent.
Yeah, and let's touch a bit on kind of the pricing. How do you think that investors should view the pricing of your recovered cardamom black? Is it premium due to its being recycled, or is there some other concerns there?
When we speak with manufacturers, tire manufacturers, rubber manufacturers, I always get the same answer. It cannot be compared to regular carbon black that's on the market. So it's not possible to compare the prices with regular carbon black that is on the market. It is unique, so it is very rare. And it's like always the question of offer and demand. There's a lot of demand in the market for recovered carbon black, but almost nobody who can offer it. So most of our off-takers agreed to fix prices for long term so that they're able to get something.
Yeah, now you're in the process of scaling up and building plants. Where's the most likely locations for the first plants outside of your plant in Diligent?
Yeah, I said plant 2 and 3 are built in Dillingen now. In Luxembourg, that's not so far away, and there we could get the countrywide monopoly if we do Luxembourg. Okay, Luxembourg's not that big, but it is a country. Southwest Germany, Eastern Germany, Northern Germany, Ireland, and we have a big request also from the UK. So yeah, a lot of countries, in fact, and a lot of possibilities, even more possibilities that we can handle at the moment. So yeah, we just today we got again 2 requests for plants in outside of Europe, but that's for the moment a little bit outside of our capacity.
Yeah, and when really scaling up your operations and building all these facilities, what do you see as the largest risks going forwards?
From the technical side, I don't see that many risks because it's just batteries of the same thing. So the reactor or the tower that is running right now, it is just multiplied. So there is no bigger tower built or something like that. The bigger the plant is, the more towers you will have. So at the end, the best scale is a 3-tower plant. So it's 3 times the same tower. What is new to us in some countries is the authorizations. So in Germany, it's not that kind of a big deal anymore, as we know the German laws. But the strange thing is that even though we are in Europe, every country has their own specialities on authorizations. And that is kind of a bit challenging, but the good point is Germany is well known worldwide as being green and technologically advanced. And the strange thing is that many authorities from other countries are asking the same thing. Is it authorized in Germany? We say yes. So they answer, so it should be no problem in our country to get the authorization.
Yeah, and in your presentation, you touched a bit on the technology and your industrial process. Can you perhaps elaborate a bit on your technologies and the advantages of those of that technology?
How many hours do we have? Uh, yeah, sure. In fact, the biggest difference is that we are completely different from anybody else. So most processes you see in the market are batch ovens or turning ovens. So things that have been tried since the 80s. And our inventor, who is now over 70, Mr. Schultz, he has already built it turning ovens and batch ovens in the 80s. But in industries where they are usually used, like oil industry for trying the sludge, or in cement factories to burn the cement. But everybody is trying to, yeah, transform that technology in a way that it recycles polymers. And it has some disadvantages that you cannot simply erase. A turning oven is something that can never be completely airtight. And if you want to dismantle something under pressure and high temperatures, it needs to be permanently and technically airtight. And that doesn't work in a turning oven that's permanently turning around, like the name says. And you have big problems to get the temperature inside the material, because polymers and rubbers are highly isolating. And if something isolates, you don't get the temperature in the middle of the material where you need it. In small containers, like in lab scale, it's easy to do. But if you go in big reactors that are 2 meters in diameter and 10 meters high or 10 meters long, you don't get the temperature till the middle of the material, as you lose 200, 300 degrees Celsius in just 10 centimeters of material. So you don't get the heat where you need it. And that's the speciality of our reactor. There's no moving parts, so it is permanently and technically airtight. We move the material to the reactor with the easiest way of moving things, with gravity. And that's something that never fails and usually runs always without technical issues. If gravity is not working anymore, we have other problems on our planet. And on the other hand, we have 150 little chambers in our reactor. So in fact, if you want, our big reactor is nothing more than 150 small reactors. So we have the ability to really control the temperature in small spaces, so that we don't have that issue with high temperature differences. And that has as a result that we have those stable end products in oil and carbon.
Yeah. CEO Pascal Klein, thank you so much for your presentation and your clarifying answers.
You're welcome.
Yeah, take care.